Ever notice how the loudest person in the room is often the least informed? They speak with absolute certainty, yet their confidence is built on a foundation of, well, nothing. Meanwhile, the people who actually know their stuff, they hesitate, they double check. They say things like, I could be wrong, but what's going on here? Why do the clueless think they're geniuses while the truly smart doubt themselves? The late, great George Carlin once said, think of how stupid the average person is, and realize half of them are even stupider than that. Brutal? Maybe, but disturbingly accurate. Intelligence isn't evenly distributed, and yet those with the least of it often act like they have the most. This paradox is called the Dunning-Kruger effect, a psychological phenomenon where people who are bad at something lack the ability to recognize just how bad they are. Essentially, they don't know enough to know they don't know. They're standing on a tiny hill thinking it's a mountain, while the real experts are lost in an endless range of peaks and valleys, fully aware of how much further there is to go. Let's meet MacArthur Wheeler. In 1995, this guy robbed 2 banks in broad daylight, without a mask. When cops showed him the security footage, he was shocked. Why? Because he had covered his face in lemon juice. Yep, he genuinely believed lemon juice worked like invisible ink. He thought he was a criminal mastermind until reality smacked him in the face. Hard. But here's the kicker. MacArthur Wheeler isn't an anomaly. He's a perfect case study of how ignorance fuels confidence. And this isn't just a problem for clueless criminals. It's a pattern woven into society itself. Look around and you'll see it everywhere. People who barely understand a topic are often the first to debate it, post about it, or worse, lead others. Why? Because confidence doesn't come from knowledge, it comes from lack of knowledge. When you don't know much about something, you also don't know enough to see how complex it really is. So you assume you must understand it completely. Think about that one friend who watched a single YouTube video on investing and suddenly thinks they can predict the stock market. Or the guy on Twitter explaining quantum physics despite barely passing high school science. Or the self-proclaimed life coach dishing out psychological advice without ever having studied psychology. Dunning and Kruger, 2 psychologists, proved this in a study. They found that people with the least competence rated themselves the highest. The less they knew, the more they believed they knew. Meanwhile, experts, the people who actually do know, rated themselves lower than they should have. Why? Because they were aware of what they didn't know. The more you learn, the more you realize just how much more there is to learn. This is why true experts often seem hesitant. They second guess. They qualify their statements, not because they're unsure, but because they understand the depth of the subject. And, ironically, that makes them appear less confident than the loudmouth who knows nothing. History is full of geniuses who were ignored, mocked, or dismissed, while confident fools ran the show. Galileo was called a heretic for suggesting the Earth revolved around the sun. Darwin's ideas were ridiculed. Nikola Tesla died broke while others took credit for his inventions. Alan Turing saved millions of lives by cracking the Nazi Enigma code, only to be persecuted after the war. Meanwhile, some of the most powerful leaders in history were dangerously unqualified, but they sounded sure of themselves, and that was enough. People don't follow wisdom, they follow confidence, and that's a problem. And today, this effect is everywhere. The internet has given the overconfident a megaphone. Social media rewards certainty, not accuracy. Algorithms push content that's bold and absolute, not content that's thoughtful and nuanced. The result? Smart people who understand the complexity of things are drowned out by those who don't. The ones who should be leading discussions, they hesitate, they analyze, they check their facts. But the ones who have no clue, they charge in full confidence, zero hesitation, and because confidence is persuasive, people believe them. It's like a game show, like where the loudest contestant wins even if they get every answer wrong. And that's dangerous because when certainty outweighs wisdom, Society starts making terrible decisions. History repeats. The blind lead the blind right off a cliff. So what can we do? First, question confidence. Just because someone sounds sure of themselves doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. Look for people who admit they could be wrong. Those are usually the ones who've actually done the thinking. Second, embrace humility. If you never feel dumb, that's actually a bad sign. The smarter you get, the more you realize how much you don't know. So, if you ever catch yourself doubting your intelligence, congratulations, you're probably smarter than you think. And finally, never stop learning. The best way to fight ignorance isn't to argue with fools, it's to make sure you don't become one. Because in a world full of people who think they know everything, the real genius is the one who understands just how little they actually do. Think about it.